Now, why y'all want to come into my town and start?
We in here. Ah, man, I want y'all to check out this Gotti. This Gotti right here, man. Not Yo Gotti either, man. I'm gonna tell y'all how to reach Gotti. Get my let me see. I can tell y'all how to reach Gotti real quick. I want to make sure y'all tap in. OG underscore Gotti. OG underscore GOTTI 3782. OG underscore GOTTI 3782. Man, make sure y'all go tap in this OG. What's happening? Okay. Listen to the message. Now I'm sitting in hell, sipping any with the devil shit. Don't need the ice shit, it's already cold. I'm kicking game. All right, that's how we gonna do this real quick, man. We're gonna make this quick. Yeah, I mean, I see y'all. Y'all see, I didn't do no promotion for the live tonight. For all those of y'all who are already in the room, just checking everything out. I almost was gonna bypass tonight, but I was like, however. The last live was so lit, man, was so informational, and so many jewels was dropped. It was only right that I keep the momentum up. I got to keep the momentum up. We don't have an actual guest tonight, but however, in a sense, we do. He's just not my guest, man. Yeah, I mean, you'll get a whiff of what I'm saying in just a second. However, oh man, it's been a long day already. It's been a long day. I don't know if y'all checked out the last segment, but do please check out that last live with Seeds for Purpose. Janae Patrick. That shit was, man, that was a good one. She was definitely clumsy the other night, Friday. She was dropping jewels all over the place. And as I told y'all before, always cutting barber talk is the only place you can go where being clumsy is beneficial. You know what I'm saying? We dropping jewels. I want to say this, man. I don't know if y'all seen the title. This is about kids and IEPs, man. And I know y'all like, man, no, this is not. We're not sitting talk about, everybody know I'm a barber. You know what I'm saying? It's a barber talking right now. What other way would you have a barber talk? You got to be the barber hosting doing the thing, but periodically we have barbers in doing their thing. Speaking about cuts. I've been cutting so long, man. And if you a barber, you probably been cutting for a while too. Like I said before, sometimes, I can't even say sometimes, a lot of the times barbers, when they get finished cutting, they, it's back to the real world. That's why this is always cutting barber talk, because this is the real world. Y'all, a lot of y'all want to see us just stuck behind a chair. That's the only thing we doing is just cutting. We don't have no personal life. We don't have no stress. We don't have, everything just consists of behind a chair, which is not true. We got things going on as well. Oh, by the way, I'm gonna keep a book for y'all. Go grab this. Yeah. Somebody enlighten me, turn me on to this right here. Yeah, the how. That's what I'm currently reading right now. However, I'm currently reading a few books. And I don't mean a couple books. I mean a few books. What I want to say, I apologize for that. However, what I wanted to say about the book reading, this is something that I noticed. Somebody enlightened me to this earlier. It was crazy. I never thought about it like this when it comes to reading books. I felt like it was a weakness of mine to where I ain't gonna say a weakness. It's just I'm so curious for information. Hold just a second. I'm so curious about information. I catch myself reading multiple books at one time. Like if you tell me about a book and I'm already reading a book, I'm like, I'm so anxious to get into it and get to the, you know what I mean, the meat and potatoes and all the good information and things that's going to be beneficial to me. I'll just be grabbing books. So I'm currently reading a few books. I want to say this. Somebody told me, you know, they do the same thing. They was like, but if you think about it, when you was in school, you had multiple classes that you went to, and you had to read, you had books for multiple classes. I said, damn, I never thought about it like that. You got books for multiple classes. You got about 7 periods, you know, 5 to 7 periods or whatever, however many periods you got, how many classes you got. You got a book for damn near every class. So you reading multiple books when you're in school. So why can't you read multiple books, you know, at your own free will? So I'm gonna say this. That lightweight, they gave me a little some justification on what I'm doing as far as reading. You know, reading is like it becomes a place like where it's in your mood. It's the mood you in. You know, I might be going through something, and it might be this book that's showing me how to deal with it. Well, you know, that was a jewel for y'all. That's a jewel for you all. Just think of it. You can read multiple books. You read multiple books when you was in school. You had different classes, different periods, whatever you want to call them. However, that is not what we talking about. We talking about this IEP, which goes with school. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So check this out. This is what I want to do tonight real quick, because I ain't going to be here that long. I'm just going to give y'all some game, something for y'all to think about for the next live, because I think this is what we about to be talking about. I want to make I'm feeling this live thing because the way I'm doing it, you know, I'm touching on the true things and the things that people really deal with in life, man. You got relationships, you got kids, you got bills, you got, you know, your trials and tribulations, things, you know, people go through a lot of different things that people be, you know, you think you know somebody, however, you don't really know them unless you know their pain. Think about that. You think you know somebody, but you don't know them unless you know their pain. You know, with all the social media and everything, a lot of shit is fabricated. You see all the good things that people go through and the good things that people doing. People see everybody business look like it's doing great, all that. You know, people don't get to see the work that's done behind the scenes, the pain that's felt behind the scenes. You know what I mean? That's what's different about Always Cutting Barber Talk. You know what I mean? We keeping this shit all the way authentic. I want to send a shout out. I want to send me some shout outs before I get into what we're talking about. Send a shout out to Officially Patch my shirts, man. My shirts is fire. And y'all want to know what my shirts say? I would be standing up, but you can see right now it says, I am the becoming, the how, the purpose, the reason, the answer. Well, the understanding, and of course, I am him. So when you know these clients, I mean, y'all know y'all getting cut by Mr. Pringles the barber. However, just start telling them when they tell you, when they be like, who cut your hair? Him? Who the hell is him? You don't know him? Look him up, Mr. Pringles the barber. You dig? Okay, so let's get into this, man. Let's get into this. This is the food I got for you right now. These are the jewels I got for you right now. This is something I want you to think about as far as this IEP when it comes to dealing with the kids. You know, a lot of the times, man, we be giving our kids a crutch because somebody else looking for some money. Have you thought about it like that? Have you ever thought about the fact that they getting paid to put your kid in a class or give them a program, the IEP? When a lot of the times your kid don't need no IEP. It's just the fact that your kid don't learn the same way as the kid sitting next to them, and the kid sitting next to them don't learn the same way as the kid sitting next to them. So why wouldn't you just try to teach the kids according to how they learn instead of trying to get money off of the IEP? We're gonna go into this, man. You're gonna go into this. You know, I'm just not one of them parents that just agree with the shit. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that my kid has their undivided attention on their schoolwork first, before I just say my kid needs an IEP, because I honestly don't. I'm not gonna tell my kid that they can't. You know, I was always taught you should never say can't, just like you should never say never. However, yeah, can't is not a word that I use. Um, I'm not giving my kids no crutch. You know, the mind is like one of the most powerful things in the world, man. Whatever you tell it, it believes it. It can't decipher between, you know, what it can do, what it can't, unless you tell it can't. Pretty much, you say, well, you know, you have a learning disability. 9 times out of 10, that kid ain't gonna perform to their full potential anymore because you just gave them a crutch. Now they don't believe that you believe in them, so why would they believe in them? Man, it's just something to think about. We're gonna go ahead and go into this, man. Let's see. Let's give y'all some good. Let me give y'all some good, man. Yeah. Hold on. Let me cut this on. Oh, I'll cut that on later. Let's check this out. Dr. Umar Johnson. You know, let's tap in. We tapped in. I'm gonna let him go ahead and speak.
First question I'm going to ask, right? Please explain the history of the IEP individual education program and how it's supposed to work in theory versus how it works in reality.
Great question. So when we talk about IEP, individual education plan, we're talking about the world of special education. Now, there's three things that automatically go together when we're dealing with IEP. It's a trinity. You can't have one without the others. They are the IEP, a learning disability classification, and special education. If you mention any one of those, the other two are automatically present. Special education is a program that gives the child an IEP because they have a learning disability. No learning disability, no IEP. If you have an IEP, you're in special ed. They all go together. I say that because sometimes you'll hear parents say, my child has an IEP, but he's not in special ed. If he has an IEP, he's in special ed on paper. The school's getting money for his education. He may not be assigned to a self-contained classroom. He may still be in a regular class, but he's still a special ed student. They're still getting paid for him. Okay. Now, special ed comes to us 1975. Public Law 94-142, Federal Government Education for All Handicapped Children Act. The federal government in 75 said, if a child has a disability, they have a right to two things: an education that is free and appropriate, and they must get that education in the least restrictive environment. Let's talk about least restrictive environment. What does that mean? Let's go back to 1954. U.S. Supreme Court outlaws segregation based on race in school. 20 years later, we get special ed. Special education is still segregated education. I want to be clear. Special education is a form of segregated education, but you're not segregating based on race.
Oh, hold up. Okay. I mean, are y'all woke? Y'all listening, right? Y'all listening? I'm making sure y'all listening to this, man. These are to all the parents, man. Hey, the kids on these IEPs, and you feel like your kid ain't in special education. Is your kid in special education? I'm just saying.
You're segregating based on disability. For his own good, we're going to take him from the regular class, put him in a special class because he's retarded. For her own good, we're going to take her from the regular class, put her in a special class because she's reading disabled. For their own good, we're going to take you from the regular class, put you in a special class because you're emotionally disturbed or autistic. You see how that works? So it's not race, it's disability. I would argue, based on my analysis, you won't find this written in any federal document, but based on my analysis, special education was the resegregation of Black children. Look at the timeline. 54, Supreme Court says schools must desegregate, but they don't. In fact, since 54, the Supreme Court has issued at least 3 additional decisions demanding the schools to segregate, and they never segregated yet. Why? Because the Supreme Court is the judicial branch of government. They're not the executive. In other words, the Supreme Court can say whatever they want, but if the president doesn't execute it, if the
They don't
Congress
got
doesn't
power
legislate
to.
on it,
Now listen to this
nothing
though.
happens.
Listen to him.
And that's why right now in 2022, our children are still segregated as much, if not more so, than they were in 54. So 64, Dr. King, Civil Rights Act. The Civil Rights Act also contains educational amendments that speak to desegregation. The schools still don't segregate. 74, they're busing children into the white school districts. You get Boston, Massachusetts, the most racist, divisive, anti-school desegregation movement in the North and probably in the whole country. So when the 70s hit and you got white people beating up black kids, bombing buses, threatening parents, the federal government said, wait a minute, we in Vietnam. We're trying to make the world safe for democracy. How do we look where we can't even guarantee black children a right to learn in a white class? That's when special ed came. Special ed was a compromise between the racist school districts and the feds. The feds said, listen, we know you don't like black kids. We don't like them either, but you're making us look bad. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to come up with a program where we're going to pay you to let them kids in. What you're going to do is you're going to let them in the school, make it look like we're desegregating. Once they get in the school, you can separate them all you want. As long as it looks like they're integrated, we're fine. So the school district said, well, what if we don't want them at all? Federal government said, if you don't take them, we're going to cut off any federal money you're getting. But if you take them, we're going to let you legally resegregate once you let them inside. But you're not going to do this based on race. We're going to give you some disabilities. We're going to give you a reading disability. We're going to give you a math disability. We're going to give you emotional disturbance. We're going to give you intellectual disability. Use these. Have the school psychologist evaluate and label them, and now you can separate them from white kids forever.
But and what I also noticed is that when kids with IEP are in schools, they're just in general classes and they're not learning it. And it seems like they're not receiving the resources they were promised to receive. Have you experienced that?
Not only have I experienced that, I see it every day. Here's the issue with special ed. If children did not receive a special ed subsidy, there would be no special ed. First of all, let's be clear. The only reason why New Jersey, Philly, Maryland, California, Texas, I don't care where you go. We can go down to the American islands. We can go down to St. Thomas and St. Croix. Same thing. The schools are putting black kids in special ed because they want that money. Let me give you an analogy. You a principal in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. 70% of your students qualify for free and reduced lunch. 60% come from single homes. None of them are reading on grade level. You know why they're not reading on grade level, because your teachers aren't teaching them. You know the feeder school didn't prepare them. So you have a decision. You're either going to tap into your Title I money and get those children extra help that they need, or you're going to send them to the school psychologist. If you send them to the school psychologist, you're going to get a 100% increase in that child's funding. Special ed students are worth twice as much as the regular. So for example, let's take Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia school students probably get about, hypothetically, approximately $15,000 per student, right? Once they go in special ed, that child is worth almost 30 now. 30. It's
30,000, 15 to 30. Man, they flipping the kids. You know, y'all know when you're in the street, you know what I mean? You grab what you grab, but you grabbing it to flip it. So they grabbing your children's education, well, their minds, and flipping them. Okay, just think about that. So he said they get 15,000 per student. However, if the student has an IEP, they get an extra $15,000. So do you think that they going about this in a way where they're showing compassion for, they say, the lack thereof as far as the student, or are they going to get the bag? So while you got parents out here that's easily accepting their kids being on IEPs, instead of saying, you know, you don't need no IEP. I know you smart. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure I'm on my kids' back. We're gonna be on their back. We need both parents though. You need the mom and the dad. Everybody got to be in the agreement. We don't need the IEPs. Now I want y'all to listen further. You know, it sounds sweet. Everybody, they always gonna dress it up and make it look real sweet. IEPs, yeah, your kid needs an IEP. They can't focus. Adults can't focus right now. That's not, nobody focuses right now. If you want to focus, start reading some books. The more you read, the more you're going, you know what I mean, stretch that focus. But I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all can hear. Go ahead, here you go.
To double your money. How many people you know, if they got a chance to double their money, are not going to double it? So sticking with you as the Black principal, do you care about them kids? Because if you care about your students, you're going to make the teachers teach them. You're going to find the money in your budget to get them to after-school tutoring. Mind you, you already get Title I money. You already getting Title I. Title I funds comes out of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, Lyndon Baines Johnson, War on Poverty, 1965. This money is earmarked for children in low-income schools to improve what? Reading and math. What are most Black kids in special ed for? Reading and math. So if you're getting Title I money to address reading and math, why are all these children with reading and math problems ending up in special ed where you are already giving money to help them? You know why? Poor oversight of Title I spending and greed. I know I got my Title I money, but I'm going to use that for something else. I want this extra special ed money. It's about greed, and it is about neglect of Black children. And here's the big thing. Our parents, brother. This whole system of special ed to prison, the whole special ed to prison pipeline is held together by uneducated. When I say uneducated, I'm not talking about academically. Uneducated about special education. So Black parents don't understand that special ed is not a solution. I don't fault them for that, because the way they pitch it to you in a way that makes you feel like special ed is the best thing that ever happened to Black children. He'll never get left back again. He'll get extra time. He'll get extra time on his tests. We're going to slow down the curriculum. We're going to give him his own learning plan, small group.
That's what they selling.
I got just one question real quick, right? Is the, I noticed then, I taught for 5 years in Philadelphia public school, right? And with the SPED kids, do they have to pass them, or do they pass them so they don't have to show the paperwork for failing to give them service?
Great question. Are schools required to promote special education students? The issue is this. The IEP team determines what the child is going to learn while they're in special ed. So who technically decides if that child gets retained or promoted? The IEP team. Who's on the IEP team? 4 required people: the parent, the principal or designee, the regular ed teacher, and the special ed teacher. These 4 people meet every year to do a new IEP. The IEP must be done annually because you move up in grade annually, right? So when you meet, you decide as a team, he needs to repeat. That's not likely to happen in special ed for 3 reasons. Legally, can they be retained? Yes. A special ed child can be retained. Absolutely. I've retained them before, but it's not likely to happen. Why? 3 reasons. Number 1, what is the job of the IEP team? To monitor progress. To monitor progress. So if this kid has an IEP and he still can't read or hasn't made reading progress to the point where you have to consider retaining him,
Justify your job.
where was the progress monitor? You got to justify your job. How, at the end of the year, are we talking about keeping them back when the whole purpose of the IEP is the pushing forward. That's number one. Number two, when the state and the feds come in to audit your books, if they see too many special ed kids being retained, it lets them know you're not really helping them. Number three, the teacher who initially referred him for special ed, why did she want him tested in the first place? It wasn't for academics most of the time. It was for behavior. So you mean to tell me you're going to go right back to the same teacher who had him put in special ed and say, we're sorry, Mrs. Slovenberg, he's going to have to repeat third grade. She's going to look at you like you're crazy. The reason I put him in special ed is to get him out my class. And you're telling me I'm stuck with him for another year. That's why special ed kids are rarely retained. And I think it's a problem, brother, because we have special ed kids being socially promoted who don't know anything, who go to school in states with a graduation examination. If you live in a state that has a graduation exam and you've been socially promoted all through special ed, when you get to 12th grade, you got to take that test. You can barely read. You know what it does? It automatically perpetuates the school to prison pipeline because you're going to drop out because you can't pass. You don't get a diploma. What is life going to be for that special ed kid who was socially promoted from first grade when he first got his IEP till 12th grade when he failed the graduation test? He don't have a diploma. He's on the street. Drugs, guns, the military not even going to take him.
Man. I ain't even really got to say too much else. I'm pretty sure y'all got the drift. Now, for those you all parents like me, you know, I've been faced with that situation. And, you know, that's something that as parents, people probably don't ever talk about amongst each other. You know, I talked to one of my clients today. He felt free to express that. You know what I mean? He witnessed the same thing. You know, they out here, you know, as parents, we gotta, man, our job consists of a lot. So sometimes it may be, you know, a lot. You trying to help your kids. They teaching the kids different than they taught us. So now you got to relearn things. You know, it could be a lot. However, it is never enough to where you agree to giving your kids a crutch. You know, everything right now in the world is based on weakening our mind. Like, you got to think, like, even when it comes to texting, man, that shit's spelling it for you. You got spell check. Everything is all designed to just weaken your mind. Nobody's doing anything about trying to keep themselves mentally relevant. So if we're dealing with that, just think about what's the next generation, like our kids coming up. You got a whole bunch of kids with IEPs. They can barely read. They're using their phones spelling everything for them. Then you got AI everywhere that's just, it can spell everything, write everything, do everything that you can do. So this design is from what I'm seeing, they're trying to make your kids obsolete. You gotta pay attention, man. Pay attention. Don't be so naive to fall for anything, man. You know, we got parents out here that'll fall for anything. Sometimes you gotta go against the grain for a second to see if that's what it is. You know, I had a discussion with my one of my daughter's principals, the whole damn board. You know, they were shooting that IEP thing out, and I'm like, nah, I don't think that's it. You know what I mean? I don't feel that's it, because what I'm noticing is she ain't focused where she need to be focused. She got other shit that she got going on that she don't need going on. So if you give her undivided attention to her work, and you do that for a couple months, and I know that's what she's doing, and then we have a problem, then we might have a discussion. However, as of right now, no, I ain't going. I'm not going, you know. And a lot of the times, you know, parents might not agree. I'm the parent that won't agree. I don't agree that any of my kids need an IEP. I just don't believe that. I believe that they should be able to learn how to problem solve and work out whatever they having trouble with. Like, challenge them. You only grow from being challenged. I'm not about to give you no crutch. However, we got to figure this out. We got to figure out what way is best for me to present this to you, for you to be able to receive it. In the teachers, you know, I don't know if he has said it already, but he was saying about how children learn better from people that they feel actually care. Like, do your child really feel like their teacher cares, or they just feel like their teacher at work just trying to get a check? Here, take this, do the work, say a few things, and that's it. Your child don't know what the hell is going on. Not to mention, you got COVID and all that. The kids were sent home. Now they learning from the iPads and shit. They never would, they missed damn near a whole year of school. Interacting with other students, interacting with the teacher. It's a lot of things they had going against them, and IEP just ain't it, man. You're not about to flip my kids' mental state. They out here flipping kids. They flipping the mindset, the mind state. Well, however you want to look at it, man. Everybody get into a bag. They get into a bag with the education, the pharmaceutical industry. Man, all the shit that you think that people are supposed to have like a genuine heart towards, like, they don't give a fuck about your kids. And I'm about to get up out of here on that. I'm gonna let y'all think about that, and we're gonna discuss this later on, because I'm gonna make sure I got the right people congregating around, you know what I mean? So we can get the right input, and so we can get some of you parents to understand that your kid might not need an IEP, man. They got your kids in special education, your kids in special ed. You all know how it was when we was growing up if you was in special ed. They just changed the whole damn IEP. That sound better, don't it? That sound better, like, don't it? That shit don't sound better. That sound like some bullshit. But I'm up out of here, man. You know what it is, man. This is Mr. Pringles the Barber, a.k.a. Always Cutting Ted Honcho. I am him, not them. I am him, not them. Woo, get up out of here. Yeah.